Hi everybody, it's Mr. Kirsch here. If you are watching this video, that means that you are ready to create your pictograph for the Village of 100 People assignment, and you are either in Mr. Kirsch's class, Ms. Shapiro's class, or Mrs. Balboul's class. In making your pictograph, we have given you a graph online in the form of a Google slide, and today we are going to go over what elements you need to make sure that you include, as well as how you go about creating your graph appropriately. So, looking at the pictograph from class, this is just a quick reminder that there are some elements that you must include, including the title. So the title for our graph today is Pictograph for Ice Cream Favorites, a legend, which is where we will indicate which color corresponds with what flavor, and a scale. And that's down here at the bottom with this circle equals one person. And a scale basically describes how many of an object represent one picture on our graph. Okay. In our Village of 100 People graph, one person is going to represent one person. So that would be our scale number. So one of these figures represents one person. So in setting up our graph, we need to put text onto this slide. So the first thing that we're going to do, you can see that I'm hovering over it right now, is we're going to go ahead and click on text box. And that's how we add text to our Google slide. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop. And now I've created a text box where I can put the title of my graph. So for this, I'm going to put ice cream favorites. Okay, that's going to be the title. And I can go ahead and center that if I want. And I want to make the text a little bit bigger, so I'm going to select all and just make it bigger. There we go, ice cream favorites. Okay, so I've made my title. The other two things that we need to do with that text box feature is we can add a scale. Okay, so scale is one person equals, and let's see, I'm going to go ahead and select one of these, copy, and paste. And I'm going to drag him down right there. Okay, and that's my scale. Scale one person equals that. And the last thing that we need to do, go back to that text box function, is we need to create a legend. Okay, so I'm going to title this legend. Okay, and this is where I will indicate what color is represented by what flavor. So let's say that you have 10 people that have chosen chocolate. Okay, so how do we represent that on our graph? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to shapes, okay, and that can be found here where I'm hovering right now. And if I click on shapes, I'm going to go down to shapes. And what's nice is that our graph is set up in a perfect square, which means that it's 10 across by 10 down. So I'm going to click on that rectangle, and I'm going to put a rectangle around 10 of our people. Okay, there we go. So what that does is that puts a rectangle around them and on top of them. Now we want to know how many people are in that rectangle. So what we need to do is we need to hover on this paint bucket that says fill color, and we need to make it see-through. So I'm going to go ahead and make that transparent. Okay, but how do we identify color? Well, right now you can see that there's a blue border around those 10 people. We're going to change that and we're going to make it a red border. Okay, but I still can't see it. Well, the reason that you can't see it is that the line is too thin. So we're going to go and change the border weight, which is the thickness of the line. We're going to make it 8 times as big as it is right now. And now we see the red. And I'm going to click on the side here so we know that red is chocolate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the shape button, and I'm going to go back to the square. And down here in my legend, I'm going to make a little square. There you go. Now you can see that it's not the right color. We want to make it red to match our graph. So I'm going to go back to where we filled the color in as red, and I'm going to do it. And now it should be a red box. There we go. Now we know how to add text. Now we already have a text box here. Okay, so I'm going to work my way across by clicking on the tab key. And I'm going to say red equals chocolate. Okay, and if you're having trouble seeing this, you can go up to the 3 dots over here and you can zoom in. Okay, so once again, let's say that we had 10 people that liked vanilla. Okay, so we would go to shapes. We would click on a square because 10 is a perfect square in our graph anyways. And I want it to line up perfectly. There we go. We're going to change the fill color to see-through, transparent. And we're going to change the border color. Let's make this one pink. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and change the thickness of the line to 8 again. There we go. So now I've got 10 of each. And to put that in my legend, I'm going to do this, just like I did before. And I'm going to go and fill it in as the color that I chose. There it is. And I'm going to drag it so that it lines up with the other one. Oh, almost there. Oh, Mr. Kirsch. There we go. Good enough. And I'm going to tab across like I did before. I say pink equals vanilla. Okay. And we are going to do that no matter what set of data we've been given. So if we were given how many people speak a specific language or how many people are from a specific region, we can represent that using these colors, using different colors and putting those colors in our legend. Now, sometimes we have strange numbers like 12 or 14. So let's pretend that we had 14 chocolate lovers. So we're going to go back to shapes, but instead of clicking on the rectangle because it's not a group of 10, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look for the shape that looks like an L. Okay, and that's right here. It's called the L shape. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to create an L that goes across a whole row. There we go. But remember that when we create our graphs, we have to group from largest to smallest. So let's say that chocolate represents the largest percentage of our data. Okay, no more people loved ice cream more than they loved chocolate. So what we need to do is we can't have this blank space on top. We need to start from the top and work our way down. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to rotate this by flipping it horizontally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to rotate this by flipping it vertically. And now it's on top. Now remember, we said that we needed to represent 14 people. So right now our graph is covering, that's 10. So we just drag this yellow line, that's 11, that's 12, that's 13, and that's 14. And then we go through the same process we did before, where we change the color to transparent so that we can see the people behind. We're going to change the color of our line to red to match what's in our legend. And we're going to make the thickness of the line a little bit darker. So there, if we had 14, that's how that would work. Now, if we had, let's say we had 8 as part of our next unit. So let's say we had 8 people that liked vanilla. So we're going to go to shapes and we're going to look for that L shape. So there we go. Okay, and 8. And we're going to do the same thing as before. Okay, we're going to flip it vertically. So we go to rotate and we're going to flip vertically. Okay, but again, you see here, whoops, this isn't working for me. Again, you see here, there we go, this doesn't work. So I'm actually going to I'm going to drag this all the way over here, and I'm going to drag this.
I don't watch the news. I don't have a TV, but I watch social media, which is
So if you need to represent 8 for the flavor of vanilla, you're once again going to go find that L shape. Okay, and we want it to, so we're going to go ahead and rotate it. We're going to rotate it clockwise 90 degrees twice. And what that does is it makes it so that we don't leave any gaps in our graph. So right now it's representing the 6 people up top, and then we need to cover 2 more to make 8, 7, 8, there we go. And we're going to go through that same process. So we're going to make it see-through, and we're going to change it to pink, which is what we have in our legend. And we are going to change the thickness of the line. There we go. So our red box would represent our 14 chocolate lovers, and our pink box would represent 8. As I said before, we are going to start with the biggest groups on top in our graphs, and as the groups get smaller, we will fill them in accordingly. So if you are struggling with how to make shapes, I suggest you always click on that L shape if it's a strange number that isn't in a group of 10. Okay, and don't forget that you can always move this around to include more or less people. Okay, and you can always right click and rotate and turn it as many times as you need to make it fit the situation that you need it to fit. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Ms. Shapiro or Mrs. Balboul, depending on who your teacher is, and we will hopefully be able to help you. Good luck.